Tired of seeing your shit bounce off of enemies that make them seem unbeatable? Seeing a hit marker that changes between red and white, but you don't know what the f that means? But that ain't damage, that's penetration, baby. Hello, I'm the Gundam Boy. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the autistic weapon reviewer of Helldivers 2. I often cover small weapons, big weapons, and stratagems. However, I would like to cover something that isn't very well known in Helldivers, especially if you're a new player. I think a grand majority of my viewers are very familiar with the penetration system in this game. However, this is going to be a great video for new players or just if you want to refresh. Penetration is something that is so important to the combat of Helldivers 2, but yet many players might not understand how that works. There's no terminals that talk about penetration, and there is no explanation of how it works even in the tutorial, which you would think would be a prime place to learn about it, especially with how massive it is in the game. Like, most Helldivers might have gotten this exposure later when they looked in the armory, but even then, you're only really exposed to seeing heavy pen, light, medium, and anti-tank. Helldivers just got the good luck and figured out kind of mentality. But the biggest source of my inspiration for even making this video was when I was playing with my friend and his girlfriend, both casual players of Helldivers 2, and had no idea what they were doing when the charger was rushing them down. Sure, it costed 2 reinforcements, but don't worry, I killed it with my ultimatum. But the whole point is to inform players on what penetration does. It does your mom. The armor pen system in Helldivers and how it works is very simple. If the armor pen is less than the target, it will deflect and do no damage, which is less than ideal because the whole point is trying to kill the enemy. If you're getting shield hit markers, you might want to swap to a different weapon because you're doing nothing. If the armor pen is equal to its armor, it will be a gray hit marker and only do 65% of the damage to that part. Then, if the penetration is greater than the target's armor, you will see a red hit marker and be doing 100% of the damage. It's always important to keep in mind your armor pen, as these damage cuts can be the difference between spending half the mag in a firefight to only spending 2 bullets. It's not just bullets that have penetration values. This also applies to melee, explosions, fires, butter knives. What the fuck is going on? Why is he doing this? Why is he dojo floating away? I swear to fucking God, I can't with this game sometimes. The armor pen system is pretty straightforward. Getting a shield icon means everything's deflecting. If you get a white hit marker, it means you're doing 65% of your damage, and the red hit marker is 100%. And now keep in mind, this isn't just applied to us, the player. Even the enemies themselves have penetration values. It's the reason why Boltless can't hurt the mech. They only have AP2. And while we know about light, medium, heavy, and anti-tank, there's about 10 levels of penetration that exist in this game. However, there's something that is even more obscure in the concept of Helldivers 2. And despite me doing a large portion of my videos on Helldivers 2, it took me a while to wrap my head around this. And it's durable damage. And while there is a damage cut for penetrations if they're matching values, durable damage and durability is probably one of the biggest things that will affect how hard your weapon hits. On top of armor pen, all your weapons have a hidden damage calculation. Liberator does 90 damage, right? Well, against certain targets, you actually might be doing more like 22 per bullet. Enemies have a durable rating on their body, but this durability can vary between targeted points, just like armor penetration. To better help wrap your head around it, say an enemy has a 100% durable rating on that part. That means your weapon will do the lowest damage possible, so the Liberator would actually be doing more like 22 ballistic damage per bullet, while if the enemy has 0% durability, it takes the whole damage of the gun, which would be 90. I can give you an example. The butt of the charger is unarmored, which means it can do full damage for any of the weapons, and you ignore that damage cut. However, the durable rating on it is 100, so even though you don't have to worry about that damage cut from the armor penetration, you still have to deal with the durable damage. Hopefully you understand at this point. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. It's okay, you can lie. Durable mostly has a play for medium-sized chaff units and heavies in the game, like Alpha Commanders with their big-ass heads. Otherwise, you won't see this too commonly on the lighter chaff units, but let's dial it back. Durable is nowhere shown in Helldivers 2, you only ever see the standard damage. And it might even be the reason why that gun you've been using chugs more ammo when you're facing off with certain targets. Most non-hyperautistic gamers probably know instinctively how much bullets your favorite weapon takes to kill certain targets. But for those of you that want to actually see how much damage your weapon is doing to the enemy, there is a formula. Math. This is the formula. Durable damage multiplied by the durability, and then we have the standard ballistic damage times the durability percent. And if it's a matching armor pen, you'll have to calculate for that 65% damage. And no better way to showcase this than with a test. Liberator versus the Brood Commander head. How many shots does it take? Well, let's calculate it. 22 is the durable damage, so we multiply that by the 70%. Then we have 90 standard damage plus the 30% left over. Then from that we should get 15.4 plus 27, which equals 42.4. And because the armor pen is matching, we'll we'll have to multiply 42.4 times the 65%, which should give us 27 damage. And if you want to see how much damage it will take to kill that targeted point, you just take that 250 health and divide it by 27. And because it's 9.25 and you can't have 9.25 of a bullet, it could take 9 to 10 shots to pop the head of a commander. And the best way to see if your math was correct was just to go in game and shoot the enemy. Math. Now, this goes back to the ancient question of Helldivers 2.
Light pen or medium pen?
Well, that's a hard question, because you'd have to run the numbers against every enemy in the game, and I don't feel like doing that. Comparing the Liberator to the Liberator Penetrator, you can actually find out that in a situation where the enemy target is AP2, per bullet, the Liberator Penetrator actually does more damage because it ignores the damage falloff. Now, this isn't surprising for anybody, because we do know that medium pen weapons would ignore that damage cut. But because medium pen does allow you to target harder areas, players tend to target these regions more often. But the weapon actually ends up performing much more similarly to how light pen weapons fare against matching armor. If you still want to do more damage to the enemies, I would still recommend aiming for their weak points. You definitely start to feel it in your ammo, especially when you start to face off with more than one Devastator. It really racks my brain when I see Helldivers shoot at things like the Devastator's chest, because you spent way more ammo than just shooting him in the face. Like, come on. Imagine spending around 13 bullets for what, 4 Devastators? Gotta reload. For certain enemies, it just makes sense to shoot them in that weak point. Oh. Another good example would be the legendary Hive Guard. You know, the thing everybody's terrified of. Most Helldivers are going to aim for this big-ass head because, you know what? It's the easiest thing to shoot. Similar to the Devastators, you are going to be spending way more ammo if you gotta kill a bunch of these guys in a firefight. Mostly because it's still soaking up a lot more damage. But there is so much gaps in the actual armor of a Hive Guard, they're way easier to kill than people think. If you can hit these 2 little arms on a Hive Guard, you can actually kill it within 4 bullets. And the best part is, I'm doing full damage the entire time, which is why it is still very important to know where you should be aiming in Helldivers 2. There's a large variety of weapons in Helldivers 2 that has varying durable damages. There are some weapons that don't have to deal with the whole damage fall off, like recoilless rifle. But even if you can do all the math and run the numbers, skill and knowledge about your weapon's playstyle will always be more valuable than just stats. Unless it's the pacifier. A massive resource a lot of us Helldivers could benefit from is using the Helldivers wiki, as they're mostly correct in all their damage numbers. I hop on there often to do calculations on weapons and damage numbers to see how certain weapons fare, but it's a great place to do research on that one enemy that might have killed you a few too many times. Now, Helldivers is a very complicated game, and this could be very overwhelming for rookies, so this video should have chapters that will talk about each bit, and you guys can always come back and revisit it if you need a refresher. But that is the end of the video. What do you guys personally think about the armor system in Helldivers? Because when I first started getting into this game, I was not expecting it to be this goofy. Otherwise, be sure to like the video, hype it, and comment, and I will see you guys later.